Hello everyone, my name is Annie. I'm the author of Legends of the West, and my website is one.comics.com, and I post a page every Thursday. And you're welcome to subscribe, leave a comments, and take a look on my blog and even my little online shop, even if there is not much. It's very new, and I just start to create some t-shirts design and other gadgets. Anyway, so in this is a time lapse video, as you can see, and I was debating with myself. I said, should I put some music on this video, some kind of annoying music that everybody love it. In, usually in some videos they put always this background music that's a little annoying, and so I decided to avoid to do that. And I said, well, maybe I can talk about something. So I guess I can talk um, about my graphic novel, about the story, how I create the story, how I develop the characters, and why I'm using Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, because obviously not everyone, if you not follow me on Instagram or follow me on my website, you really don't know what Legends of the West is about. So I take a chance this time to talk about a little bit Legends of the West. Okay, so I'm explaining what I'm doing this video. Basically is drawing chapter 4 page intro. So on my graphic novel, every chapter has a little page intro, and basically is in illustration, pencil illustration. I used in this one charcoal too, and it's a southern plantations, from the United States, and it's every image, every illustration for the page intro is related uh, to the chapter. Uh, so Huck, Tom, and Sally are still in Louisiana in chapter 4, and are going towards California, but the southern plantation is related to something that is going to happen in chapter 4, and the title is A Little Heart Divided. So I just came out today with the title. Anyway, so Legends of the West, the main characters are Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, and Sally McKay. And it's based, obviously, I took the two characters from Mark Twain, and they are 16 years old now. And Tom Sawyer decided to have one last adventure before going to college. He decided to become a lawyer, and with the suggestion of Judge Thatcher, that I took from the book, obviously, and want to go to Harvard to become a lawyer. Obviously, back then, becoming a lawyer, it wasn't that many years of study like nowadays. Laws at that time, there were that many. They were way more simple. But anyway, so he goes to visit after 3 years from their last adventure, uh, from where the adventure of Huckleberry Finn ended. So Tom Sawyer is going to Arkansas, Pikesville, Arkansas, where his relatives, Aunt Sally and Uncle Silas, live, and they adopt Hawk, and so he's going to visit his friend, and obviously his relatives too during his summer vacation. And he proposed to Huckleberry to have one last adventure and going to California, because the story is based in 1849. And back then the gold rush, it was just exploding. Everybody wanted to go to California. They were leaving, men, they were leaving their family, their girlfriends, their wife, their kids. So they were packing the stuff and going on a wagon or on a horse, and even get boats, and going to California. And it was just a gold fever, and those people were calling the 49ers. And so I did a bunch of research and everything, and I got inspired to do this story. Anyway, so this is, and during, so at the beginning, Huckleberry doesn't want to really want to do it, but then at the end he decides to go with his friend, because he's not really happy where he's in now. He doesn't like the place, Pikesville. He doesn't like stay. He doesn't hate Aunt Sally or Uncle Silas, 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 whatever it's called. Um, but he's not happy where he's in now, and he wants to begin his life somewhere else, and maybe California is gonna be the place. He's not really sure yet, but he's following his friend. So during they run away towards California, they meet this girl that she is kind of odd girl. She's not the common classic late young lady from that time. She dressed up like a man. Well, obviously she's a little bit sexy, and she carry a gun, and she ride a horse, and she travel by herself with a wolf, which is was very uncommon, obviously, for that time. And she's from They found out that she's from California, and they decide to follow her and try to convince her to travel with them, to join forces and get together and travel together, even because Tom Sawyer fell in love right away with her. It's love at first sight. So they meet her, and after uh, they got robbed by some horse thief, Tom Sawyer and Huck meet again this girl, and they convince her to join with them and travel towards California. So that's the beginning of the story, basically. The, in these three chapters, develop this, and so they found out right away that Sally is not a typical girl. She's very smart. Um, she's very well educated, and she knows how to use a gun uh, perf- perfectly. I mean, she's incredible, and she has a lot of skills, and she traveled by herself, which is very unusual. Well, in chapter 4, I can't say really too much, because in chapter 4, I'm going to more. The story is going to be more deep about Sally and about her past, and I'm going to explain why she is what she is, how obviously somebody taught her how to use the guns, and she not only knows how to use a gun, but she can use bow and arrows and sword. She can really, and she She, like I said, she's very well educated, very smart, and not because the girls at that time they were stupid, but because they didn't have the same opportunity to learn like a man. So she is different from, she had the same education than a guy had, even almost more. But that's because uh, I'm not saying who did it, because you have to read the story. If I start to say too much, then I'm gonna spoil it. So if you want to know more, you have to read the story. Sorry, it's like that. But anyway, basically the story is Tom, Huck, and Sally. They're going back to California. Obviously, there is a reason why Sally's from California. She is in Louisiana now. That's why she encountered Tom and Huck. But there is a reason why she was in Louisiana and why she's going back to her family, basically, to California. And during the voyage, during their journey, uh, they meet obviously other characters. They are in dangerous situation, and the Sally's past is gonna come to chase her and hunt her, and she's gonna find herself in difficult situation. And there is a very important character that's gonna come out later in the story. Actually, it's gonna show uh, a little bit, just a little bit, towards the end of chapter 4. I'm going to introduce him or her in chapter 4 at the end. And the story will develop. They're gonna meet real characters, historical characters that really exist at that time, real events that happen at that time, and the story is gonna evolve around Huck, Tom, Sally, this character, and a family member, Sally's family member. And obviously, there's gonna be a love story. What Sally? Who Sally's gonna choose? Tom or Huck? Is Huck is gonna fall in love with her too? Well, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I mean, I know you don't. You have to read it. But anyway, how did I come up with this story? Well, it happens when I was about 12, 13 years old, and the cause of everything, it was an anime, a Japanese cartoon. Back in Italy, between the 80s and the 90s, my generation, and I tell you how old I am, my generation grew up watching anime. There was this show around 4 o'clock that after school you were going home and you will watch all your cartoons or your Japanese cartoons, and there were Creamy, Lady Georgie, The Rose of Versailles, The Smurf, the Ninja Turtles, and Heidi, all the best animes that you could imagine. And obviously, for the newer generation, those animes are considered old, obsolete, and maybe not even that good. But uh, for my generation, we grew up with this anime, and they were the best, uh, in my opinion. There were long episodes. You fall in love with the characters. The story was pretty intrigues. Sometimes they were kind of about almost all the same, a little bit like now, but they were making sense, and they have some kind of good feelings. Anyway, this new anime came out. It was titled My Friend Huck, my amigo Huck, and I thought it was hilarious. And you would think, well, the adventure of Huckleberry Finn, the novel, is not that hilarious. Well, but the anime, it was very different from the novel. Uh, I apologize about for my ignorance, but back then I didn't know who was Mark Twain or Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn. I never read the books. I never even saw the movies. I mean, the anime. It was the first time that I saw something about it, and sorry. So yes. I was completely ignorant. I didn't know anything about Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer, and Huckleberry Finn. I never read the novels, and I didn't even know they exist. But on the credits in the anime, we're saying that this story was basically inspired by Mark Twain novel. So I say Mark Twain. Who is he? So usually when I don't know something, I uh, I research a lot since I was a child. I always watched a lot of documentaries. I love history, and I always read a lot of books, even if I didn't read these two books. And I used to go to the encyclopedia back then, those giant books, and do my little research. So I found out who was Mark Twain. And in my house in Italy, I have this big library with a lot of books and encyclopedias. And I had a classic novel collection. I have the Iron Mask, the Black Tulips, the Four Musketeers, and there was even the Adventure of Tom Sawyer and the Adventure of Huckleberry Finn. Lucky me. So I started to read these two novels. Well, you can't imagine my surprise when I read the two books. I say, wow, the cartoon or anime, it's better say anime, doesn't have nothing to do with the novels. Um, the characters Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry, and Becky Thatcher, they were quite similar to the novels, but the story it was completely different. It was distorted from A to Z. And to give you an example, Jim in the anime is a 12-year-old child, the same age of Tom and Huck, and is still a black child, but he was is adopted by the widow Douglas, and he's living in the nice house with the widow Douglas. Which when I was watching the anime, I was wondering, but that's a little weird. I don't think if back then, old white rich lady will adopt basically a slave child and keep it in the house and treat it like his own son. I mean, I don't think that will ever happen back then, especially at that time and in the South of the United States, but probably not even the North, honestly. And but it was just an anime. I wasn't really thinking about too much about the historical time, and it was overall a funny cartoon. But the reason why Jim ran away with Huck on the raft on the Mississippi River, it wasn't for searching for his freedom. It was for because he wanted to go visit his mother that was staying in a hospital. She was sick. I don't know what she had. They never said what kind of disease, why she was staying in a hospital. But she wanted to go to see her mother in the hospital in Cairo. Cairo is for someone for who, if you don't know what it is a city on the Mississippi River. And back at that time, Cairo, it was one of the major city on the Mississippi River. And he was the Cairo is between the Ohio River and the Mississippi River. And in the novel, Huckleberry and Jim try to reach Cairo to get upstream, sell the raft, and then get a boat to go upstream on the Ohio River to reach the Free States for Jim. Totally different from the anime. But the anime, they basically changed the story just because they want to make it adopt, let's say, adopt for a younger audience. And obviously, the two novels, Mark Twain never wrote this book meant to be children books, but he had another reason. But because the two characters are kids, so it's being adopted as children books, but there are not children books. Anyway, so when I start to read the books, I fall in love with the two characters, and I really love the story, especially the adventure of Huckleberry Finn. It's a masterpiece, obviously, and one of the best American novels. And Mark Twain became my favorite writer. And I read a lot about him, and so after all, I started to even do research about American history. I knew a little bit about American history that they taught you at school, but not deep as much I wanted to know. I mean, they don't really go over everything. So I started to buy books. I used to have encyclopedia. I probably still have. My mom probably didn't even throw away those books. Never throw away books. Better donate it or give it to the library. But anyway, I didn't have internet back then. There was no Google, and so you had to go to the library or buy books or read the encyclopedia. That's what I used to do. And so basically, I start to draw the two characters, Tom and Huckleberry, and I start to develop Sally McKay. But I was just drawing little stories, nothing serious. I mean, I wasn't even inking the page. I was just drawing on my school notebooks, and or copy paper and pencil, just regular ugly. They were pretty ugly, ugly drawings, ugly characters. I wasn't really uh, think about it too much, but it was like a hobby. After doing homeworks, after walking my dog, I would just stay in my room, listen to music, and drawing my this story. It was just something to do in my free time. So and I did it for many years, honestly. Um, and then what happened? Oh gosh, it passes so many years. Oh, Inuyasha came out. Well, I tell you, it passed really several years. When Inuyasha came out in 2000 something, 2003 Oh gosh, I don't remember anymore. Anyway, so Inuyasha, it came out in Italy. They were showing this new anime on MTV. MTV Italy is very different from MTV USA. I don't even watch MTV anymore. I don't have cable. I stream pretty much everything. So, but they were beside music videos. They will have some programs, and there were a certain time of the day they were showing new animes. And one of these anime was Inuyasha, and I loved Inuyasha. Inuyasha is one of my favorite anime. I really love all Rumiko Takahashi anime. Rama and Alf, Lam, Maison Ikkoku, all of them. She's great, and she's one of my favorite mangaka. And so one day I was walking on the grocery store, and I saw in the magazine section they were selling manga, and I saw Inuyasha manga, and it was the episode of Kikyo kissing Inuyasha in the forest, and Kagome was stuck on the tree, and she had to watch all the scene involuntarily. And I didn't see the episode yet on TV, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't see what's happening. Why Kiki's kissing Inuyasha? What's going on?" So I start to buy uh, uh, the manga and collect the manga, and I really like how they were drawing and the illustration and everything. And I start to think, maybe I can do something for my story too. Maybe I can do a real comic book. Maybe I can start to learn how to create a manga, a graphic novel, um, and learn how to ink, how to use the pen nibs, the screen tones. So because like I say, I'm very, when I want to know something, I do a lot of research and I start to buy books and stuff. So what I did is start to buying books that were teaching how to create a manga, how to make a manga and comic books. So I start to learn myself how to ink with pen nibs, how to create panels, develop the characters, develop the story. I start to become very serious about uh, my comic book. I didn't even have a name, a title for the comic book. I just started drawing this like it was coming from my brain. And so, but for me, it was a little easier to learn how to make manga because of my graphic designer background. So I graduated as graphic designer back in Italy, so that really helped a lot. And so it was quicker and easier for me learn how to do comic books. Anyway, um, so what I was saying, yes, I learned how to ink and do everything myself. I did research how big the page has to be, and in then I was even planning to submit my comic book on some publishers. But before that, I start to develop obviously the story and go deeper with my characters. I start to insert new characters and uh, make my own story and not just copycat the two novels. And things I didn't want to do is ruin these two novels. And I said, it's already been done so many times. They already made a bunch of movies and cartoons, and they're not even comparable to the two novels. they change too much the stories and kind of even change sometimes the character that is not worth it to me. Even why even use the two characters Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn if you want to do something completely different? Just do a completely different story with two completely different characters. So I think so that I decided to do is say how can I use Tom and Huck without going too far from their nature, from their original uh, characters, and without damaging Mark Twain. I say I don't want it that his ghost to come in the nighttime and pull my feet. But I say so. I start to thinking, well, definitely I don't want to redrawing or rewrite the story. No, that is already been done. Mark Twain did a great job. Is this work? I don't want to touch it. But I want to use the two characters, and I said, well, maybe I can take the ending of the adventure of a Huckleberry Finn and take inspiration from there and develop my own story. Even because Mark Twain in his life he wanted to reuse Tom and Huck, and he was about, I think he actually started to write about this new novel using again Huckle and Tom, but unfortunately his life had some upside down. He lost a lot of money for bad investment. His favorite daughter died very young. His his wife was always ill, so they moved to Europe for a long time, tried to heal her, and anyway, not really a happy life. So he never really he never he wasn't able to accomplish and finish this the new novel. So I said, well, maybe I can do I can use Tom and Huck going to obviously within a new adventure. This time, really going to the in the American frontier, in the Wild West, in the territory. But so I started to do some research, and I figured that the gold rush it was the perfect uh, time to create this story, even because on the preface page of The Adventure of Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain said that the story is based in all these adventures that are based about that are happening about 30-40 years from when he wrote the book, which it was published in 1876. So I went back about 30 years before, so it was around 1846. So to make our the 3 years are passed, and now they're 16 years old. I went back a little farther, so I say, well, the adventure of Tom Sawyer, let's say, was around 1845. The adventure of Huckleberry Finn was around 1846. 3 years have passed, they're 16 years old, and it's 1849. Perfect time. It was the gold rush where everybody was going to California. Means they were leaving their family, their kids, their wife, the girlfriends, fiance. They were packing their stuff and trying to become rich and going to California on wagons or getting the boats and circumnavigating the South America and get and landing in the San Francisco port or they were going with a horse wagon, everything. And I mean, it was a mass of people from, not only from the east of the United States, but even from all over the world. It was uh, the biggest news that happened at that time. It was crazy. If you have a chance, read about it and watch documentaries. You find out a lot of things. You find out how crazy it was, and they were calling these pioneers the 49ers, and it was really a gold fever. So um, obviously Tom Sawyer, I figure he wants to be part of the moment of history, because and be remembered in history books. At that time there was not Instagram or Twitter, so he you were getting popular if you were in a history book. So I figured that Tom, if say, couldn't miss that time, that adventure. So that's why he wants to go to California. So, well, anyway, as I start to develop the story, I start to develop the characters, to go deeper, and years, I let it go by a lot, many years, because a lot of stuff happened in my life. I moved to United States about in 2005. So I didn't really have time to work on the story, and I let it go for many years. And finally, next last year, after a series of things that happened to me in my life, anyway, I finally finished basically the story. I know what's happening from the beginning, and what it was going to happen in the middle and in the end. So I know how it's going to end and everything. I develop and I fill up a lot of empty space that I have between episodes. So, uh, and finally now it's a complete story. It's gonna take me forever to draw in and finish because it's a quite long story, but I'm very happy that I developed the characters, and obviously there are gonna be some changes because when you write a book or a movie, uh, you know what's your story, but sometimes you might change something, or you um, take away or add in other stuff. And so anyway, I am so happy about it, and just read it. But yes, so that's how I came up with the story. Obviously it's kind of unusual because is this story I start when I was 12 years old, and now obviously I'm way older. And but life happen. Things moving from a country to another is not the easiest things, and a lot of things happen, and you can't always have all your stuff with you. So, and you find yourself in situation that you can't always sit down, and because when you write a story or you start to draw a comic book, you need time. Time is precious, and you need time to sit down and drawing the page, inking, adding screen tones. And now with Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint, I can edit the page very fast, very quick. I still draw everything by hand, and I ink by hand. Till chapter 3, I even use manually the screen tones, but in chapter 4 I'm not doing anymore. because screen tones, they're getting so rare, and they are very expensive. They are like $5-8 per sheet, and I don't even know where to find it anymore beside thelater.com, with a Japanese website where they sell manga material. But it's way easier using Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint to apply screen tones manually. It's just a pain in the butt, to tell you. I would do a video about it and I'll show you how to do it for anybody that is interested. But they're sticky. You have to. It takes away a lot of time to do that. Anyway, I am almost done with this illustration. Finally, it took me 2 weeks, because not because the drawing is complicated, and it took me 2 weeks to finish. It took me so long because I had to pause it, let it don't even touch the illustration, because certain things that happen in my life, and my life is an adventure, really. I always have tragedy and happening to me, and a couple weeks ago had some issues, and I couldn't do anything, so I got behind with my comic book, obviously, with my website, with my store. I'm not touching my store forever. I need to do some new design for t-shirts and coffee mugs, and I try to make money like everybody else. But yes, I need to sit down to my in front of my table and drawing, and obviously there's always something coming up, and try to get a better job. And oh gosh, well, my life is a drama. I don't want to tell you all my problems, but anyway, I am glad that this illustration is almost done. I'm ready to start chapter 4. I'm so excited about chapter 4 because I'm going, like I said before, to explain more about Sally McKay, and I'm going to introduce this new character towards the end, and the story start to uh, really begin. So chapter 1, 2, and 3, they were just the beginning and the presentation, uh, so the viewer, the reader, can understand the characters. But chapter 4 is going to be more deep. I can see here in this part that you just see the illustration. That's it. You don't see my pencil going. It's because I'm right on the bottom, and see, there we go. I come up again, and yeah, I have to learn even how to make videos because I'm not the most professional video editor, video maker. I just use iMovie, and I think it works fine. It's free, and I have a Mac. It works perfectly, and for these type of videos, things that's fine. But I need to learn how to. I use my iPhone as a camera, and I have a little stand that attach my phone and face the table. But I have to learn how to make frame it better. Yes, I will try to do that next. Always something to learn. Anyway, if you want to know about my comic book, if you want to read it for free, you're welcome to check my website, one.comics.com. I write even a blog, and I talk about the art supplies, art material that I use. I had a review about Wacom pen tablets. You're welcome to read it. You're welcome to check my little shop, And please leave a comment, subscribe, support my comic book, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter and even Facebook, even if I'm not using that much Facebook. Anyway, I think that's it for this episode, and I promise that I'm trying to do the video about how I create my comic page and a little experiment with Photoshop that I want to do for that particular page. And I had to figure out now when to do it because, like I said, my life is a tragedy. My scanner basically doesn't work anymore with my Mac because I upgrade my Mac with Mojave or Mojave, wherever you want to say, and I love it. But uh, I have a Canon scanner Light 200, and it's few years old, and I even call Canon support, and they say you're screwed, you have to buy a new scanner because we are not supporting this product anymore. We don't even manufacture anymore. Well, thank you, Canon. I was expecting better from you. And yes, I had to buy a new scanner, but I do my best to do my next video and try to be more um, constant and post regularly. I just right now I'm in the middle of so many situations that I'm trying to do so many stuff that it's crazy, but I do my best, and I really want to make these videos. I think it can help some other artists, maybe if you want to know anything about how to make a manga, maybe my way can help others that wants to know how to do it or have any idea. And I think it's good for artists to share their tips and their knowledge. And yes, so I want to really keeping going on with these videos and share my tips and skills and talk about comic books, graphic novel, and art supplies, how to make a story. Next video probably I can talk about a little deeper, more in technical part, how to create a story, the hero's journey. I wrote a blog about it, the hero's journey, and the basic elements for writing a comic book story for beginners. And it's on my blog. I'll leave the link below if you're willing to read it, take a look, and like I say, support, subscribe, and leave a like. And thank you again. Bye.